And, and they're the party now of censorship. And
how can you have a democracy with censorship?
You cannot have a democracy. They're absolutely incompatible. And everybody knew that. Everybody, you and I were raised reading Orwell and Aldous Huxley and Robert Heinlein and Alexander Solzhenitsyn and all of these other books that were part of classical literature that was taught in every American classroom. It said the first step to totalitarianism begins with censorship. It's the first step down that slippery slope. And there's no time that we look back in history and say the people who were censoring speech were the good guys. They're always the bad guys, because we know that they're the guys who are going to end up cracking the whip on us all and being our overlords. And then the whole thing about, like, you and I have talked about that clip of Tim Walz, Governor Walz, saying that government should be the ultimate arbiter of what is protected speech and what is not. He said if something that the First Amendment does not protect, misinformation and disinformation, but it does. The First Amendment was written to protect not only true speech but false speech, and speech that it wasn't there and it's unnecessary to protect the kind of speech that everybody wants to hear. It's there to protect the kind of speech that nobody wants to hear.
Right. And especially speech that is critical of the people in charge.
Exactly.
And so in their current formulation, misinformation is defined as any speech that criticizes the job that they're doing. So with that in mind, you see the Biden administration encouraging France, Macron, to arrest the owner and founder of Telegram, Pavel Durov, who's now, as of right now, in a French prison. That seems like, that's the hallmark of dictatorship, it sounds to me.
Yeah, well, we've lost Europe. Europe does not have free speech. Look what's happened to Elon Musk. And Elon Musk should be the hero of the Democratic Party. Of the old Democratic Party, he wouldn't be the hero. Somehow he became a villain because he was actually the only platform that would allow free speech on his platform. And he's now become a villain because of it, because the Democratic Party does not believe in the people. If you don't believe in free speech, it means because you don't trust the people. You don't trust them to figure it out on their own, to have information on which they can base their ideas and their notions and their beliefs.
And their votes.
And that the government has to protect them from dangerous information, from things that might put bad ideas into their heads. And it's very patronizing, but it's also very manipulative and conniving, and really it's exactly the opposite of democracy. And you will not find a single Democrat who will criticize it. It's really astonishing to me, because the Democrats always like to, when I endorsed Trump, the fulcrum of the centerpiece of the text of hatred that I got back, this kind of seething anger from so many Democrats, was, well, look what he did on January 6th. Okay, January 6th was a bad day in American history. And what President Trump did there, in my view, was very bad. It was reprehensible. But was the Republic really at risk? We have the U.S. military, we have the National Guard, they have all the institutions, we have Congress, we have all these institutions of government, and there was a mob of people, most of them who probably didn't know what was happening. Some of them were very badly intentioned and were breaking the law. But it wasn't a threat to the Republic. What is a threat, and this is what you cannot explain to a Democrat now, and it's astonishing to me. What is a threat is when the government is censoring your speech, political speech. And, I just won Tucker last week.
But that was the centerpiece of Democratic ideology, was free speech.
Exactly. The word liberal means free speech. That's where it comes from. Oh,
That must be weird for you, being named Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and spending your entire life in this world. Like, what's that like?
Let me just say this. I won a lawsuit. I won a new judgment in my lawsuit, Kennedy versus Biden, last week. And Kennedy versus Biden was part of two lawsuits that were brought, one by the attorney generals of Missouri and Louisiana, and the other by me for the same issues, which was the Biden administration's censorship of speech. And so there's a series of decisions. There's a 155-page decision. The attorney general's case went up to the Supreme Court and was rejected because the Supreme Court found that those attorney generals didn't have standing to sue because they weren't directly harmed. My case this week, the federal judge Doty said Kennedy does have standing to sue. And he reissued his injunction against the Biden administration. So I have an injunction right now against the Biden White House to enjoin them from censoring me, which they've been doing. The 155-page decision by Judge Doty details everything that happened.